Tabloid Tuesday with Chris Wilkinson. Today we're reading the Tamworth Herald. Chris. Oh yes, it's the award-winning weekly newspaper reporting local life since 1868, and I believe that is the year in which Britain stopped shipping prisoners to Australia, if I'm quite correct. I think it is. So first headline. Home left ruined by golf club. A family say the construction of the new holes at Whittington Heath Golf Club to make way for the planned HS2 rail line is destroying their home.
Well, to be honest, nobody ought to be evacuated from their own homes due to HS2. I think it's a very ill thought out project. I don't very much agree with it because it's only going to take 20 minutes off the journey time between London and Birmingham, as is presently the case.
I believe the government ombudsman actually did say that there is no way of knowing what the final cost will actually be, and its predicted end date will actually be a decade from now in 2030.
Yeah, the cost of the HS2 project, I believe, has trebled, much to the chagrin of taxpayers, which, as of my recent payslip, includes myself, because I'm involuntarily paying income tax on an income that is less than the income tax threshold. So I queried that with the HMRC, and I hope to be getting a rebate next month.
So we're going to talk about an online sensation. He's called Kaiden, which isn't a real name. Kaiden, 10 years old, vows more than 1 million with video. So he's got 1 million hits online, and he's going to become a new child singing sensation.
I mean, this is ultimately what social media was designed for, the proliferation of child prodigies and just gaming or general information videos and things like that.
Yeah.
Without much context, I don't know really what to say about this. It says online fame beckons...
You picked the story, so you better have something to say about it.
No, this was yours. Online fame beckons for
It wasn't.
a talented Tamworth schoolboy after a video of his singing reached 1 million views in less than 48 hours. So in other words, he's got very good at designing the appropriate tags and the appropriate, I don't know what you call it.
Well, I think there's been a huge promotional campaign trying to help him, because you don't get 1 million views by accident. You have to put a lot of money investing in the promotion of YouTube videos, something we won't do with our channel.
Because we're all authentic.
We're very authentic, yeah. We've got self-respect.
We're the real deal in terms of online marketing and things like that.
Man is charged over collision which left officer in a hospital. A man has been charged in connection with a collision in which a police officer was injured earlier this week. Dwayne Trevor Francis, aged 35, that's a very old name for a 35-year-old to have, of Barnwood Road, Quinton, Birmingham, has been charged with failing to stop, dangerous driving, possession and with intent to supply crack cocaine, and possession with intent to supply of heroin. Francis was due to appear at the North Staffordshire Justice Centre this morning, but didn't. Why do you not turn up for a court date?
I have no idea. Maybe he was off his face on crack cocaine, as the story says.
Not every dealer gets high on their own supply, Chris. The famous line from George Moroder's Scarface should tell you that.
But that is one of the perks of the job, at least having access to drugs such as cocaine. One may feel as though one is able to consume cocaine every now and then.
Every now and then.
And it just seems to me as though, it's not a really unexpected tale to be coming through in the newspaper. If someone is a drug dealer, they are at least expected to consume drugs themselves, or else why would they do it?
Not all drug dealers do.
Not necessarily, but you get the idea.
It's an unsurprising, and it's not newsworthy, is what you're saying.
It's an unsurprising association between being a drug dealer and consuming drugs.
Okay. Trailer and jet washer stolen. A trailer and jet washer have been stolen from a rural property in Austria. The theft happened around 1:25 a.m. That doesn't matter. Police say that 4 men entered the premises and stole the items. A vehicle with the trailer attached is believed to have been driven through the village at around 2 a.m. A spokesman for Warwickshire Police said, "If you saw this vehicle being towed through the village or nearby, saw anyone acting suspiciously, or have any information possible CCTV footage that can help with our inquiries, please call 101. So they're not even classing it themselves as an emergency, which I'm sure the previous owner of this trailer and jet washer will be very annoyed to read.
Yeah, well, essentially, as this has just destroyed the business of somebody, I can imagine that the 101 directive is in poor taste, I believe.
It is in poor taste. We'll go on to knife amnesty bin unveiled inside church. Tamworth St Edith's Church, which we've just walked past. Actually, it's a very nice looking church.
Very much like Lichfield's own cathedral, in the sense that it has paving slabs around the perimeter of the church.
Yeah. So anyway, they put a knife disposal bin in the entrance to a church. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but the kind of people that attend church regularly and go past its main doors are not the kind of people that normally carry knives and do not go in with intent to stab people.
I would agree with that. I think it's a very strange idea. I mean, I get it that the church wants to do something good that will benefit the rest of the community by withdrawing knives from circulation, and thus potentially saving the lives of dozens of people who may be stabbed or something like that.
I think Tamworth has got a problem with where they put them, because it says it's not the first time that an amnesty bin has been placed in Tamworth, because the last one was placed in front of the police station on Spinning Pool Lane. So they're obviously not putting them in locations where people tend to want to carry knives.
I mean,
why would you cause trouble in the belly of the beast? Why would you try and carry a knife right near a police station? It seems to be slightly entrapping, really.
Seems a bit too much bravado on the part of the people who are carrying knives. I think they're a little bit overconfident if they think that they're going to get away with it. Carrying a knife with the intent to harm or things like that is a criminal offence.
Yeah, everybody knows that. Listen to this. Hopefully we've got an educated audience, Chris.
I'm taking the moralistic view on this.
Okay.
And I think generally carrying knives is not the best thing for any.
No, it's not the best thing. No,
it's not the best thing for anybody, because even if you are under attack, the best thing to do is to contact the police rather than try and yield a knife in one's hand.
Right.
And subdue the oppressor.
Okay.
Through force.
Subdue the oppressor through force. Yeah.
That's a job that is best left to the police and nobody else.
Heartless thieves steal 2 charity boxes in sweets in a pub break-in. Cruel thieves stole charity boxes, a gambling machine. I assume that means a large fruit machine. They're a bit hard to get out of a pub or whatever. And sentimental items from a Tamworth pub. The Wigington pub was broken into in the early hours of last Thursday.
Well, I mean, unless those thieves have actually used the gambling machine and perhaps hold a grudge against us, I see this as... I do agree with the headline. It is heartless to essentially thieve from a charity which is trying to do what's best for the people that it caters for. It's a very strange story. But these things do happen because ultimately human nature is very cruel at times.
Yeah.
And certainly in this instance is very much proven to be.
Yeah.
The fact that it's charity boxes and sweets, so you're not only offending do-gooders who give to the charity. You also
do-gooders. You have a bit of contempt for them for doing that.
no.
But also children. You were saying.
Also children. Yeah. I mean, obviously children consume sweets, and obviously pubs are more family-friendly nowadays, and therefore they cater to a wider demographic than as.
It also says they managed to break the pool table. Why would that be necessary?
How on earth could they have done that? A pool table is a very sturdy structure.
Yeah, I imagine they broke the slate under the cloth.
I mean, comparisons could perhaps be drawn with the Britannia Hotel in that respect.
Yes. Brexit bell issue takes its toll. Whether the bell should ring out for Brexit is a topic which has divided the nation almost as much as Brexit itself. But I'm not going to paraphrase here because the article does go into unnecessary detail. The Tamworth vicar, whilst voting for Brexit and while Tamworth being a place that voted 2/3 for Brexit, has decided still not to ring the bell because it's unnecessarily divisive, which I think is quite a sensible thing for him to do.
I personally don't believe that any religious organisation ought to get involved in a political issue.
Yeah.
I think generally, if I were to speak for myself, on balance, I am pro-life.
Right. What's that got to do with this?
That is as far as I am willing to take religion from a political perspective.
Okay.
And I believe that if religion were to be truly effective...
This is getting pretty heavy, Chris.
If it were to be truly effective, then it ought to recognise its own boundaries. And I perfectly sympathise with the decision of the... Is it a vicar or a reverend?
I don't know. It didn't say, actually.
The church cleric, let's say.
Yeah.
I agree with entirely in not wanting to divide a country which has been through 3.5 years of very bitter deliberation about whether or not we should leave the European Union.
Yep. Okay. This is getting really morbid and
not to get too political.
Somber as well.
Yeah, not to get too political or anything like that.
Well, let's read this other article. Join walk into Market Street. Now, this is a very interesting article because it doesn't actually say what the walk is for. It just says that Tamworth and District Civic Society First Members event of 2020 is this weekend. And they're going to walk around Tamworth. Now, a civic society is necessarily vague. So, speculatively, what do you think they are up to?
Maybe they are up to resistance to new planning, new plans as the council maybe have put forward, or something like that. Because I know for a fact that there is a Lichfield Civic Society that I've been very interested in looking at.
Right. Do they all drive Honda Civics? Is it a car meet?
I'm not entirely sure.
It's not about Honda Civics. It's about being civic.
I think
which you can do by buying a Honda Civic.
I think the
Honda Civic. Chris Wilkinson. So carry on.
The age demographic of the people who are involved in the Lichfield Civic Society is probably above that of a Honda Civic.
Okay.
Essentially, it's probably along the same sort of lines, really.
Okay.
In the sense that they want to preserve the cultural heritage of the city.
Okay.
From modern developments and things like that, which may infringe upon the historical character
of the city or of Tamworth. Police warning over speeding. In Atherstone and Coleshill, police are warning local people to stick to the speed limit to help reduce the number of collisions. Officers said reducing traffic speed will directly contribute to saving lives and improving the quality of life for people living in our communities.
No, of course it will. I mean, no one should be over speeding or anything like that anyway, because it's illegal. So the idea that some people are over speeding is very dangerous, first of all, because you're endangering other people's lives.
But also stop-start traffic does increase pollution.
Because of the use of engines whilst at a standstill.
Yeah, and also braking and speeding up again uses more fuel than cruising at a single speed. That is true.
That is
true.
It's
true.
You don't need to confirm it too many times that it's true.
It's true. Fight against cyber crimes. 300 workplace cyber champions have been trained across the country as part of an initiative to fight online fraud. Cybercrime is a security threat facing organisations of all sizes across all sectors, along with related socio-economic impacts such as fraud and yes, everybody. So, cybercrime, Chris.
Well, let's just say this.
Cybercrime.
I have not had an antivirus installed on my computer that has been renewed in the past 3.5 years. I have had absolutely no cybercrime attached to me because I use Windows Defender, which has become a very stable source of online protection for me when I'm browsing on the
internet.
Yes,
that's the word.
Yeah, and I think ultimately people ought to do as much as they can to protect themselves on the internet. Don't give out information to sites that are not
Don't visit suspicious sites.
Yeah. Always use a site that is HTTPS as opposed to // Yes, absolutely. But that is a secure site if it has an S in it. Don't give out credit card information to sources that you don't necessarily agree with.
I think that was probably valid before the invention of the internet.
Well, yeah. But you'd be surprised at the amount of people who have fell for various traps like this, which are just HTTP and end up being a scam.
Right. Getting a sick. It's spelled C-I-C in capital letters, so I think it's meant to be pronounced kick. Getting a kick out of helping others thrive in our region. Community Together, CIC began in 2007, when former borough and county councillor Lee Bates, along with local residents in Wilnecote and Staffordshire, Young People's Service, worked together to form a local project called Community Cafe. So this is a story of a community cafe that has been created to encourage the breaking down of the generational boundaries.
Well, ultimately, this is a very good idea. I've spoken to many people who believe that there is still an age divide between the generations, and that the fact that people who are elderly in the community are talking down to people who are younger than themselves, and
inversely, in Derby we have the opposite problem where young people were terrorising the old.
So this is obviously something that is varying across the regions and things like that. I think anything that can be done to heal the divisions
between generations,
stupid though they are, anything that can remedy that is certainly going to be of benefit to the general population, because then we don't have the condescending attitudes of the elderly nor the pompous attitudes of the youth. Right?
Youth. Big but
trying to inflict themselves upon one another.
Big bird watch in the region. Wildlife lovers in Tamworth and the north area of Warwickshire are urged to take part in this year's The Big Garden Bird Watch, organised by the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. The event is the world's largest wildlife survey and runs from January the 25th until January the 27th to document birds and wildlife spotted domestically. Thoughts?
Birds.
So you're not particularly a big fan of bird watching?
Well, I'm not Bill Oddie, so I mean this is a completely out of range sort of topic for me to be commenting on.
Okay. Well, this one.
I still may have a comment.
Okay, what was your comment about birds? About bird watching? But the community getting together to look at birds, document birds, care for birds.
Yeah, but obviously from a historical perspective, I believe it's a very good thing to be documenting wildlife and things like that, because who knows, in 100 years some certain species of birds may not exist anymore due to extinction.
Ostrich.
Or maybe an ostrich, yeah. I somehow don't think that's been covered in this article.
No, it was mainly blue tits and robins and stuff like that, to be fair.
Yeah, but although, in saying that, the robin population has gone down in recent years, and I think that all efforts to preserve their species...
Before they go the way of the red squirrel.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about the red squirrel is that I went to London in 2005 with a box of Ritz crackers, and...
Go on.
Essentially, what I did was I fed the native red squirrel population with these Ritz crackers.
Yeah.
And suddenly they all started dying off.
Oh, that's terrible.
The only thing is that they were perfectly willing to accept the Ritz crackers. So in other words,
that's like poisoning cake. It's still going to taste nice, just because it's got a tiny bit of poison in it.
I'm not saying that there's a direct correlation between my provision of Ritz crackers and the depletion of the red squirrels.
You euthanize the London population of red squirrels.
Not necessarily, but they are partial to...
Euthanasia.
They are partial to original Ritz crackers, which, to be perfectly honest, I find them very Moorish as well.
And you're ginger too, so it can't kill ginger squirrels, because you're ginger, you eat Ritz crackers, you're not dying off.
That's a science to be proven.
That's a science to be proven.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that they were perfectly willing to accept the Ritz crackers as is, and whatever ill effects have...
You've had all these huge stories, and you've gone on at length about a fucking squirrel eating a Ritz.
In 2005.
As a
result of my direct intervention in St James's Park.
Right, okay. St James's Park. This one, I don't think you read before we started going through the articles. Sumo suits to be given away. Giant sumo suits are to be handed over to community groups after North Warwickshire Borough Council decided to stop hiring them out. The costumes, along with a bouncy castle and giant Jenga and Connect 4 sets, used to be rented out as action hire equipment. But at a meeting at the Community Environment Board this week, councillors were told that because the equipment had deteriorated over the years, then it was to be taken off the shelf and not replaced.
What is a council doing providing sumo suits to residents? Ultimately,
let's speculate for a while. Let's speculate on why they may be doing that.
We are in Tamworth.
I know we're in Tamworth, but why might they be hiring out sumo suits and Connect 4 sets? I'm assuming these are those large Connect 4 sets that you can stand up and play.
We had one of those at a youth club that I was a participant of between 2010 and 2011.
That's great. That's great for the listeners, that.
Yeah.
They're in for a bit of articulate criticism, not for stories about your youth.
The criticism...
Unless they're about paedophiles.
Well, no, I've no stories particularly about paedophiles.
Okay.
Certainly in my experience.
Okay. Police officer...
Oh, you're moving on. Okay.
Give crime advice. Police in North Warwickshire are holding 4 community engagement events offering free crime prevention advice. One of these examples, Chris, is the idea that the police are going to give public-private property, so things like bikes that are displayed publicly and locked up.
Private properties mean?
It means that the items that are owned privately by individuals that are locked up in public places like bicycles are now going to be given name tags to stop the thieves taking them. That'll work, won't it?
No,
it won't work. Apply now for an inspector role with the police. People in North Warwickshire who are interested in a career as a police inspector will be given a helping hand next week. The force is working in partnership with the College of Policing, the College of Policing, Jesus Christ, to deliver the direct entry programme. So, thoughts about this voluntary inspector nonsense, really?
Well, let's just have a look further down the column is. People in North Warwickshire who are interested in careers police inspector will be given...
I've just read that to the listeners.
It doesn't... I mean, I wonder if this is part of Boris Johnson's plan to increase the number of police officers by 20,000 over an unspecified period of time, without being too political.
Sort of giving them ceremonial roles.
Yeah, it's sort of it's kind of unnecessary. All the increases in the police numbers have to be done on the basis of need. Obviously, if there is no
I understand.
If there's no need for any more police officers in a particular area, there shouldn't be any more police officers in that particular area, or anything like that. And I believe that to arbitrarily increase the number of police officers without real consideration for the number of crimes, the nature of crimes in a particular area, is going to do a massive disservice to the taxpayer at large.
Thank you to Arriva for being the worst around. Now, this is a letter from somebody to the editor.
Oh, what a burn.
But regarding the terrible service that Arriva provides, both via train and via taxi, and Chris Wilkinson, being a West Midland originator, will surely have some comments to make about Arriva as a public service provider.
I don't really use Arriva buses.
What about the cross-country trains? They're run by Arriva, aren't they? You use those quite regularly.
Yeah, up until recently when my staff pass was revoked.
Here we go.
And I now have to pay for my train travel because I'm now of an age where I'm not in further education. So I now have to start paying. I have to say that based on my experience between the end of last year and this year, the railway service has been dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been truly dreadful. I had a small job over Christmas and into the new year with Panasonic in one of their Curry's PC worlds.
Yeah, with Panasonic.
Yeah, and on numerous occasions, going to that job, commuting in by train, many of the trains that I caught were either late or cancelled, and I had to get different ones.
I think we've covered this before on this show last time.
Possibly, but it's a point worth reiterating in the face of this particular
article.
Yeah, and I just feel as though the train operating companies are not putting the best interests of their passengers at heart.
Okay. Why do you all need to rush around so much? Why are so many people in Tamworth always in so much of a rush? I drove to Ventura Retail Park, which we've been to today, Chris. It was excellent. We got some great deals. Let's just talk about those for a second.
Okay. I had a shirt which was very much of my style, an olive green silk shirt.
Yeah, it was very nice.
With a short sleeve.
Yep.
It was £8. And I also got salmon-coloured trousers for £4, which I thought was an even better deal than that, because you don't really get trousers for £4.
And I got a lovely jacket reduced from £75 to £35. So, in answer to your question,
very much in support of Ventura Park.
And this email was sent in by someone called Relaxed Ray. So, I'm sorry, Relaxed Ray. But you may know Ray, but sorry, Relaxed Ray. But
a Ray.
You know a Ray, but the reason that people
know a Ray as well, because you met him.
I do know a Ray, but the reason people rushing around in Tamworth, Mr. Ray, is that there are so many good deals, and it's such a great town to shop in that people want to get all the deals before they're all gone. So sorry about that.
I somehow don't think it's the same Ray, and I think that
what Ray do I know? I've forgotten. What Ray? Oh, the autistic Ray. Yeah, autistic Ray. He said he was autistic, so he's autistic Ray.
Ray Mayo, yeah.
Yeah, right, he's autistic. It's a fact. He said it himself.
If he ever finds this out and finds out that
he's not an assassin, he told me himself.
He's not an assassin, he told you himself.
No, he's not an assassin. He told me himself that he is autistic, is what I'm talking about. Anyway,
Is he or isn't he an assassin?
No, he's not. Drugs. He would be a terrible assassin anyway because he's autistic. Drugs seized in police raid. Police officers seized suspected Class A drugs paraphernalia, a knife, and a phone from a property in. See, because we're in the West Midlands, the names of the towns are getting sort of Welsh. Stony Delph. Oh, that's not Welsh at all, is it? I just misread it. So, from Stony Delph last week, officers carried out the search on Wednesday, January the 15th, at a property on Carricroft, Stony Delph. So this is more drugs again. So it's obviously a drug-riddled town, Chris.
There's a lot of drugs around. I mean, we were talking in the pub previously, Bonds in Tamworth, and there were people in there who were talking about openly consuming drugs and things like that. So I do think that there is a major drugs problem here in Tamworth.
Karaoke is back again. Karaoke is back by popular demand, as Together for Tamworth invite you and the whole family to sing a tuna with a booner.
What a hilarious turn of phrase.
That may have been invented by the writer of this little article, or invented by the restaurant itself, but it's essentially a place where you can eat curry and do karaoke. Now, I'm sorry, there is lager served at a curry house, but I can't think of something I'd want to sing on worse than a big curry in my belly.
I think your analysis is entirely correct. I don't believe that people ought to be consuming alcohol with curry and then trying to sing, because they may in fact vomit.
Yes.
Or anything like that. Which is not pleasant for anybody.
No, not pleasant for anybody, no.
Not pleasant for anyone who has to clean it up. Not pleasant for anyone who has to watch it. Not pleasant for anyone who has to smell it.
Or hear it.
Or anything like that.
Dog sitter charged with animal welfare offences. Now, me and you both were really interested in this article. A dog sitter is set to appear in court facing a series of animal welfare offences. Louise Lawford, who lived in Easton Road in Boldmere, Sutton Coldfield, from where she ran her Pawford Paws dog care business, is set to appear at Birmingham Magistrates Court today at 10 a.m. The action comes after dogs allegedly went missing from Hopvos Wood, Tamworth. Miss Lawford, aged 48, now of Flackwell Road in Erdington, is being prosecuted by Birmingham City Council for 3 offences of breaching conditions of the licence to operate a business providing home boarding for dogs at Pawford Paws. These include the number of animals accommodated exceeded the dogs, yada yada yada, overcrowded, riddled with fleas, and dogs arbitrarily shaved. Now that is, I imagine, some sort of measure. I'm not a pet expert, but I imagine that is some sort of measure to contain the amount of fleas that a dog has. But pretty horrible.
Shaving them short.
Yeah, pretty horrible thing to do.
Ultimately, yes, because it's against the wishes of the owners as well. I mean, ultimately, the owners are going to know how to provide for their particular pet and things like that. So, obviously, that the issue of fleas and things like that, and shaving some of the dogs short is going to factor into a lot of the care and the service that's been provided here.
Yep. So, warning over de-icing cars. As the cold weather hits Tamworth, North Warwickshire and the surrounding areas, the police are reminding drivers not to leave their vehicles unattended whilst de-icing. Atherstone and Coleshill police are warning people it only takes a second for an opportunity thief to jump in and drive off. The police said, please take the time to fully defrost, demist your vehicle before setting off. Driving with frozen windows is not only particularly dangerous, it's an offence. Now, it is pretty dangerous because you can't see out the fucking window when it's icy.
I just feel as though...
Chris.
I mean, ultimately...
Chris. Wilkinson, what do you think?
I think
it is a stupid story.
No, it is. It's filler material. Ultimately, this newspaper is about 90 pages long, and it's designed to cover an entire week. I think if you're de-icing your car, you're not leaving it unattended because you're there trying to de-ice your car through.
Yeah, I think it means nipping back and forth to the kettle from inside and outside your house because you got the heater on. But that being said, with regards to what you said about it being filler, it does seem that whoever wrote this, because it doesn't actually say the name of the person who wrote it, rang the police, the local police, and said, have you got any civil, nice, polite, civil advice to give our residents? And being a public service, the police happily obliged, and it's ended up occupying 3 inches of newspaper column without much need, really.
I'd like to verify the claim that to drive with a frozen window or ice on a windscreen is an offence. I would like to clarify that based on the fact that it seems ludicrous because ice can occur throughout the winter dependent on obviously temperature.
20 cases of mumps recorded in town last year. So this is only in Tamworth.
Just to say, this newspaper has a lot of stories in it.
It does.
And obviously we're trying to get through them as quick as we can to try and make this an acceptable length for a Tabloid Tuesday. So do forgive us for the vagaries of the way in which we this particular episode.
So 20 cases of mumps recorded in town last year. 20 cases. Why? The thing is, it's so tautologist because it will say the title and then it will repeat the title in the first sentence. So again, 20 cases of mumps recorded in town last year. 20 cases of mumps were reported in Tamworth last year, as cases of the disease rocketed across the country. In 2019, 118 suspected cases in Staffordshire were reported to the Public Health England, PHAC, if we didn't need the acronym, and nearly triple the 46 suspected cases in 2018. It is also the highest number since comparable records began in 2011. So actually, when mumps was a serious issue, there are no statistics to compare it to.
I think this is very much a victim of skewed statistics. They've only been collecting them since 2011.
What do you think of people that have mumps? Are you familiar with the physical symptoms?
It's essentially inflated cheeks.
And necks, occasionally.
And things like that.
So would it be viable to report anybody who was fat but had fatness on them in an odd way? There's a Derbyshire neck, which is to do with the water that was supplied in Derbyshire in the 70s and the 60s, which gave people a very fat neck.
That sounds like a horrific incident to do with the local government.
No. Well, it's not particularly considered to be a particularly controversial thing. But I'm just saying, if would it be acceptable if you were to report a fat person as having mumps to a local authority?
Not really, because obviously these things have to be taken in proportion. If someone was fat already, how would you, particularly if they were obese, how would you know if they had mumps anyway?
That's true, it may cover it up, yeah.
So, in other words, the effect of mumps is going to be naturally diminished by people's physical attributes, which are natural.
So, final story, and it's touching a new ground, I suppose, for this show, quite dark ground. So we're going to try and stay relatively serious about this. In sixth forms, I've come face to face with the Holocaust denial. And this is the poet laureate, Michael Rosen, who used to be famous almost only for being a meme, yeah. They said he's come face to face with Holocaust denial after following his family tree and finding Jewish ancestry and stories of fighting against the Nazis in his own family.
I have to say that despite all that has been said about me by the people who know me, particularly regarding the moon landings, for example.
So these are my comments regarding your belief in popularly accepted facts.
I do not believe that the people on this earth went to the moon in 1969. I believe it happened in the mid-1970s. I find it very hard to believe that so many people, particularly of a younger age in sixth form, are
denying
the Holocaust.
the extermination of 6 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Jews.
Yeah, when there is, as I speak as someone who studies history and politics, when there is evidence to suggest that such an event occurred.
There is overwhelming evidence. There is no evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the fact that there has been so much done to cover up the fact that the Holocaust has happened by
conspirators,
and
anti-Semites.
Oh yeah, and Nazis and things like that, and people who still believe in the Nazi belief.
Yeah. But it's a terrible thing if there is a reason. They didn't actually supply his own opinion as to why he thought it was happening. But that is a very sad story to see that there's a rise of that in schools. But
I don't see much of a basis for it, because
that's what's so strange. But it's a shame Michael Rosen, being the articulate man he is, doesn't really expand on it here. Maybe just a lack of time in the interview.
He's chiefly responsible for writing many shit children's poems.
Yeah, I'm not.
They're not really poems, are they? I mean,
no, he's no Simon Armitage.
None of them rhyme or anything like that. It's just all to do with structure.
No. So, again, we come to the end of Tabloid Tuesday. This has been a pretty unprofessional one. But again, I asked Chris to wish good luck, goodwill, and good spirits to a sidelined group in society, a sidelined group in the world, whoever they may be, from wherever they may be from. But also, not just because of that, but a group that Chris may have a certain affiliation for.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear that bit.
As we do every week now, a group that you have a particular affiliation for, or you like, to wish you tribute the episode to. Bear in mind, this hasn't been a particularly professional episode, so you may want to attribute it to someone you're not particularly fond of.
Well, to be honest, I mean, it's been as professional as it can be.
Yes.
We've done our best, despite the
your intake of Strongbow.
Immense, difficult and dark circumstances which have beleaguered this particular episode.
Right. Pick a group of people.
I would like
worthy of note.
I would like to dedicate this episode to all those people who are still in support of the royal family based on what has occurred with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle over the past few weeks.
It has been tumultuous. Thank you very much, and good night.